What is good, Tsla family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with the overall market, what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, and the QQQ very, very briefly. I'm going to talk about a couple of headlines as we have some new Chinese numbers that just came out and some words from Jim Cramer himself about Tesla. But before I break anything down about what Jim Cramer just said and what's going on with Tesla stock, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends in just 5 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with Tesla in the market. So Tesla was down 4.23% for the day. It ended up performing very, very weak compared to the market. The market selling off and the algos adjusting are what caused the market to sell off as a whole alongside Tesla. The algos tend to run very similarly. So that's why Tesla sold off. And also we had some bearish news coming out involving China, because according to their registrations, the numbers are not looking too good for Tesla in China. It looks like their sales have dropped a bit for the month of September, which is leading to some concerns from Wall Street and other analysts. So we're going to be watching to see how Tesla does. And as of right now, it's not looking as strong for them. So that's part of why Tesla sold off. But I want to talk about some tickers and how Tesla's looking right now. So from a technical standpoint, okay, how is Tesla looking? The answer is bearish. We're looking bearish. And here's the reason why. Tesla tried to bounce first off in the morning and it ended up failing, and this thing ended up selling off very aggressively. To add on to this, I just wanted to mention that looking at Tesla, we have this imbalance down here. Okay, we have this imbalance. All the way down here, this is where we have this 238 level, and below that we have 235. Those are some key supports on Tesla to be watching for. You can see Tesla bounced off this 235 zone in the past. And what I think is very probable is if we break below 240, we're most likely going to be testing 238 and then 235. Tesla also has some support at 242, but it doesn't look like it's going to hold as well. It's still looking very bearish on the 4-hour time frame. On top of this, the daily candlestick looks very bearish. It was just straight up selling for almost the entire day. We also have a bearish cross on the PPO on the daily, another bearish signal. When Tesla gets these bearish crosses on the PPO, on the daily chart, we tend to see some more selling, such as like right here. There's more selling that happened here, also like right here. And the last time this happened, right, when Tesla got this bearish cross on the PPO, Tesla sold off for a couple of days from this $280 level all the way down to about 230. Right here, it went from 300 and we got a very bearish looking cross right here, taking us all the way down to about 212, and we hit 278 recently. We just got the bearish cross here. Tesla could be sinking a lot lower. We also have this gap down here at 214 just to be paying attention to. Could that get filled? It's a possibility, but just to be safe, we're not going to count on that for now. For now, we're just going to be waiting and seeing where Tesla ends up trying to hold. We're going to be watching to see how it performs in the 230s. And I do believe it's going to be visiting them very soon. Now, as far as SPY goes, just very, very quickly, this thing is due for a bounce as it dropped very hard. We could be testing 427 for bouncing. So that is very possible, but there could be more downside still as this thing is looking weak. So watch that level very carefully. Looking at Aapl, this thing is very flat right now, going back and forth and back and forth. I think it's going to likely stay between 174 to 176, going back and forth and back and forth. But there is a risk of it coming down below if it breaks below 173.5. So that's a very important support to watch for. As of right now, it's looking like it's trying to remain stationary and go back and forth and back and forth. For the QQQ, this is looking kind of flat right now. We're at 357. If we break below this, we're going to hit 355 to 354. If we break above this, then 360 is possible. It looks like it's trying to base right here, but just to be safe, we want to see if it could bounce or not. My guts tells me it's not like in a perfect state after getting this rejection. It could drop a little bit lower first before getting the bounce, so watch that very carefully. For Nvda, this is going to be the last ticker I talk about now for today before I talk about the news. It's kind of flat, getting very, very tight. It could come down to fill this gap close to this 410 area, then try to bounce off that. Or it could be bouncing from here if we are in like a V-shaped recovery for an inverse head and shoulders. I'm in the middle right now. We'll have to wait and see, but my guts tells me it could come down to fill the gap at 410, then bounce off of that. Anyways, that's pretty much it from the technicals. As you know, Tesla looks more bearish. Why else was Tesla bearish? The answer is the Chinese numbers were also not that great. That was another big factor. Looking at the data, we have it right here. This was the insurance registration data collected by Citi analyst Jeff Chuang, and he basically found that there was a decline in the weekly sales in the company's EVs in China this month. The shares were down about 3.2% late trading on Friday, and that's part of why. You can see right here from June to August, Tesla sold about 13,000 EVs a week to Chinese car buyers. And then September sales are so far at about 9,000 per week, according to the registration data. Now, fewer retail deliveries in China will make it difficult for Tesla to hit the consensus because China is where a large percentage of their sales come from. The third quarter the overall consensus was around 463,000, with the average Wall Street estimate around 473,000 a couple of weeks ago. Now it's estimated that it's going to be sliding to about 463,000 and maybe even below 466,000, showing signs of decline. That is some bearish news for them. And there could also be some other factors affecting it. There was some news about them taking some downtime in factories to improve them and make some updates. So that could have affected them as well in China. But as of right now, sales are looking kind of slower, which is a bearish catalyst. For news affecting the markets, let me just remind you all that for Friday next week, we have PCE data coming out. That's going to be important. Besides that, I think we have Powell speaking on Thursday, and there's nothing else coming out that's too big. Jim Cramer also was speaking about Tesla, and he said that Tesla will have a substantial rally if, and let me actually go back, I think I clicked away, sorry about that, if it could prove Wall Street wrong. Now, that's not always a guarantee, though. Just because Tesla has good numbers, that doesn't guarantee the share price goes up. There have been plenty of times where Tesla had decent looking deliveries, and yet the share price ended up dropping. That has more to do with how close they were to not just expectations, but to what extent did they beat expectations, and how did they look in investors' eyes, and also how do the technicals look. All of those are different factors to consider when it comes to the way Tesla moves, not just whether they beat or not. And I just want to make that as clear, which is why I don't really agree with Cramer's statement right over there. Cramer ended up talking about how Wall Street expects a third quarter deliveries of 455,000 units, missing the consensus of 463,000. Right? They have maintained Barclays in particular has an equal weight rating on Tesla, performing equally with the markets, but there are no guarantees just yet. Jim Cramer says that if they beat that, they're going to likely, start to see a very substantial rally. Is it possible? It is technically possible, but at the same time, guys, don't just rule out what else could affect Tesla. October is also not always a very, very bullish month. October tends to be when the market tends to bottom, and the market tends to be a lot more bullish during November and December. So I'm going to be open-minded nonetheless. Not saying Cramer has to be wrong just because of my own biases. I'm just saying that I don't agree with the statement that if Tesla ends up proving Wall Street wrong, they're just going to automatically rally. That's not always a guarantee. You have to look at so many different factors, such as how the technicals are looking and to what extent Tesla ends up winning. Because what if Tesla just barely beats it? It could still drop on that. If Tesla absolutely destroys it, then yes, it could rally. But you have to specify on that just for more clarification. But could Cramer be right? It is still possible for him to be right if they win by a very, very big margin. So I just want to clarify it depends on the extent in which they beat. Now, on top of this, Tesla has revealed some interesting employment numbers at Giga Texas. You can see right here, there have some relatively high-looking employment numbers at Giga Texas. It's one of the biggest automaker employers out there, and that's very good for them. They had about 12,000 Giga Texas employees by the end of last year, and they've ramped it up to about 20,000. That's very, very good for them. They could be ramping it up to about 60,000 employees by the time they're fully uh, stacked, basically, and that's going to be for the Cybertruck when the production comes out. So that's a real possibility because the building is just absolutely massive. It's huge, and thousands of employees could fit just inside of it. So it's very, very insane. They're getting prepared to ramp up its hiring by building a giant parking garage at the location, and this is going to be very helpful for them. Now, with that said, I mean, there's still a lot of optimism for Tesla. Yes, Tesla's kind of weak right now. Yes, it may sell off because historically the market tends to sell off in September/October. That is fine. But for the long term, with the Cybertruck coming out, with the improvements being made, and Tesla eventually giving us better numbers as time progresses, I'm still very optimistic for the future of this company. For the short term, there could be some pain because of some bearish looking numbers, slowdowns due to macroeconomic factors, and also because of the current market cycle, as the month of September tends to be a little bit weaker. But just know the long term is still bright despite this, and that's what I have for this one. So thank you for listening. Enjoy the weekend. I'll see you guys again on Sunday, and peace out.